Yo, YouTube, what up? Doing Sean Brady versus Gilbert Burns, full card fight predictions, quick picks. We're going to start with the main event and go through the bottom of the card. Main event is Sean Brady, Gilbert Burns. My prediction is Sean Brady will win this fight. Maybe by submission, I'm thinking. Be the first person to submit Gilbert Burns. Pretty high confidence in this pick. Sean Brady looked really good his last fight against Kevin Gastelum. Very good bounce back from the Bilal loss, which he did lose. Wasn't really controversial. He was getting beat up on the feet. The ref kind of stopped it, standing knockout, but it was fair. He was probably going to take a little bit more damage in the next round anyway and get knocked out pretty bad. So great bounce back win. Third round submission over KG. And then for Gilbert Burns, his last fight, he got dominated by Jack Della Maddalena. He got knocked out really bad. Just a few seconds left in the fight. He got put out bad. It was scary. Fight before that, he lost as well to Bilal. That was a 5-rounder. Just lost by decision, but he hasn't won in a little bit. I think his last win was Jorge Masvidal, which isn't much. Before that, he was also hurt by Kamaru Usman in the title fight. He got knocked out real bad in that one. I think Gilbert Burns is past his days, man. Great fighter, all respect. Sean Brady's young, hungry, very hungry. And I definitely think he gets the job done this weekend. I wouldn't second guess him at all. He's not going to be scared to go to the ground with this guy. Like, a lot of people who fight Gilbert Burns won't test him on the floor because they're scared of the jiu-jitsu. But I think Sean Brady, this age, a lot stronger. He's been doing jiu-jitsu probably just as long as Gilbert Burns. Doesn't matter who the real Brazilian is. They both learn the same thing, the same instructions. Sean Brady's nasty on the floor. I think he'll beat anyone at 170 on the floor. He's coming for that strap. It's crazy to say, but it makes a lot of sense for him because he has that loss to Bilal. So they could rematch it if he gets on a little run here with a few finish wins. Say if he finishes this one more after that, he can call for it and probably get it just because, well, Bilal might lose it by then, but whatever. Sean Brady's the pick. High confidence. Maybe knockout submission. Don't think it goes a distance. Sean Brady gets it done. Next fight of the night, we have the girls fight. Jessica Andrade versus Natalia Silva. I'm going with Natalia Silva. Average confidence. She's a 3-1 favorite. She's young. 17-5 and 1. She hasn't faced the same competition as Andrade, obviously. Andrade fought the who's who of women's UFC. But she went on a little skid. Lost that fight to Erin Blanchfield, which is hard to forget. The Tatiana Suarez loss. There's another one mixed in there. She did win her last 2 fights, though. I think she just doesn't match up well here. She does good against people who are willing to stand there and let her tee off. Like she did to Lemos. That was impressive. Or she put her in that standing choke. That was weird, but Natalia Silva's a really good kickboxer. She's going to stay on the outside, throw a lot of crazy stuff, higher volume. It's only a 3-round fight. Not going to spend too much time on that one. I think she wins it by decision. Next fight of the night, we have Steve Garcia and Kyle Nelson. Kyle Nelson coming off a knockout win against Bill Algeo. It was a little bit controversial, but he had him rocked bad. He had him stumbling for like a minute, probably like a 10-15 piece combo. Bill was pissed at the stoppage. He's actually on a few fight win streak here, but that was his last win. You're only as good as your last fight, I believe in, so we always go by that more than anything. Not by what has the person done before, it's what are they doing for me now. On the other side, Steve Garcia is doing it for me now as well. 4-fight knockout streak here. Before that, he did lose by knockout. He does get rocked. The win over Chase Hooper is aging very well. After that, I don't believe he fought the best competition. Guys like Miguel Acosta and these other smaller Asian fighters. Kyle Nelson's a dog. I believe he has fought better guys. He has, I think, better grappling. If he needs to use it, hold him against the cage. I think Kyle Nelson, as the underdog here, he's like a plus 150 underdog. But I really like him. He's from Canada. The Bill win was very impressive. Blake Builder was good because it was against another grappler. The loss to Jai Herbert isn't too bad. It was a long time ago. But it could probably be a split decision. I think the Steve Garcia knockout streak is over. I don't think he's going to knock out 5 guys in a row. Like I said, I think he was getting good matchups to have that happen for him. My pick, underdog, Kyle Nelson. Average confidence. Next fight, I really like a lot. This is the Trevor Peek versus YANAL ASHMOUZ. Trevor Peek is a friggin' dog. He's crazy. Doesn't really have... He's a brawler. That's his style. He's not a really good grappler, but he can defend well. His striking, you're not going to find no one to mimic. It's going to be really hard to practice for a guy like Trevor Peek. The Wild Man. He's a minus 125 favorite against YANAL ASHMOUZ. He lost his last fight against Chris Duncan in a 3-round decision. The word was that he broke his arm early in the fight from a kick. But he didn't fight much afterwards. He just kind of survived. On the other hand, Trevor Peek lost his last fight to Charlie Campbell in a crazy fight. They had each other hurt the whole entire fight. But Charlie Campbell was landing takedowns to win rounds. I don't think YANAL ASHMOUZ has the takedown ability that Charlie Campbell had. I think Trevor Peek is a lot tougher than ASHMOUZ. I feel like even if Trevor Peek broke his arm in the first round of a fight, he would still fight really hard for you the rest of the fight and get your money's worth from him. Not going to be a clean win for Trevor Peek. It's going to be an ugly one. He's probably going to get hit a lot. But if one person has the knockout ability, I believe it's Trevor Peek. I just think he's too tough for this guy. This guy ASHMOUZ is going to get tested. And I watched his fights before the UFC. And he's pretty good. He's got snappy kicks. Decent strikers. Short hooks. But Trevor Peek's tough, man. He's going to put it on that guy and hurt him. ASHMOUZ was getting lit up bad 3rd round of a fight before the UFC I seen. Also, the competition level. I mean, Trevor Peek fought Shepe Mariscal too. He didn't win, but that was a crazy fight. Trevor Peek is my pick, minus 125. Next, we got RONGZHU versus Chris Padilla. It's another one I'm not going to spend too much time on. This card isn't the greatest. It's kind of a weak card. I hate to have such a weak card. We were just off last week, which is fine. It's good to have a break here and there. But then we wind up with a card like this. Not my favorite. But, comment, like, subscribe if you're enjoying the video. Can't wait for these fights. Saturday they start 4 p.m. Eastern time. 7 o'clock Eastern time for the main card. Still good to have fights on, though. Not going to be Debbie Downer on it. Rather have any fights than no fights. But this RONGZHU fight is not the greatest. He has been in the UFC before. He's won one. He's lost two. He fought Ignacio Bahamondes in a 3-rounder. Got subbed late in the round. I mean, he got beat up the whole fight anyway. But Ignacio is really good. Chris Padilla has a UFC win over James Lontop, which is kind of impressive. It was a first-round submission. Lontop did just have a crazy fight with Vyacheslav Borishev. RONGZHU is a -240 favorite here. His last few fights are wins over Road to UFC guys, which I don't like to see too much. But he's young. They brought him to the UFC early when he did lose. He was only like 21, 22 years old. He's like 24 now. I think they brought him back for a reason. It's a pretty good matchup for him. I don't think he's going to get taken down by this guy. Chris Padilla is not a good striker as well. RONGZHU's the pick. High confidence. Next, we got Isaac DULGARIAN versus Brendon MAROTTE. This is a terrible fight for this newcomer, Brendon MAROTTE. He is a plus 1100 underdog. Isaac DULGARIAN, -3,000 favorite. He lost his last fight as a decent-sized favorite against Christian Rodriguez. Very controversial because he won the first 2 rounds easily with like 9 minutes of control time and didn't really land a lot of strikes. That was the problem. The 3rd round he came around, it was gassed, and Christian Rodriguez ended that fight on top. Was actually laying pretty good ground and pound at the end. But Christian Rodriguez is a pretty good prospect. Believe the odds -3,000. Isaac DULGARIAN. If he doesn't finish this guy, he's gonna have a tough time in the UFC. He's gonna have a tough time re-signing. At least if you're this big of a favorite, you should win in the 1st or 2nd round. Shouldn't even go to the 3rd. Isaac DULGARIAN, 1st round, ground and pound. I don't got much on Brendon MAROTTE. I didn't look too much into this fight because of the odds. It's dumb. But the next fight, we have a really good fight between 2 younger guys at 125. It's hard to have good fights in that weight division. There's not a lot of guys who can make it down to that weight. But we have Andrade Lima versus Felipe dos Santos. And this one, I'm taking Andrade Lima -180. This is the guy who was bit in a fight and got the DQ win. He was winning the fight anyway. The guy was frustrated, decided to get him against the cage, grab a little bit, and snuck a bite in there. And Andrade Lima got the bite tattooed onto his arm, which is pretty weird, but cool maybe if you, I don't know. I think it's weird. His last fight got into a split decision with Mitch Raposa. He's still 9-0. He's versing Felipe dos Santos, who is 8-1. I believe he's from that shoot the box camp. Let's see. Muay Thai. Okay, yeah, his last fight was against Victor Altamirano. That was a split decision, weird one. And then his UFC debut was against Manel Cape. He lost unanimously, but he won a round in there. It was like 29-28. That's the contract he's fighting on. He took the short notice fight with Cape, which is cool. Cape was really good in a lot of his fights, except for the ones he doesn't make. The Makayev fight sucked, but I like Andrade Lima here, -180. I think he's a little better overall, definitely on the feet. This fight hits the floor. Lima's not fish out of water on the floor. He's really good. He might win a lot of those scrambles if there's any of them. Pretty clean win, high confidence, Andrade Lima. Next we have Gabriel Santos versus YIZHA. It's another one of those road to the UFC guys. Gabriel Santos is 10-2, 27 years old, Brazilian. He's a good fighter, a good amount of finishes. I believe he has 7 out of 10 wins. Hasn't won in the UFC yet, at least. Split decision to Leroy Murphy, which ages really well because he just beat the brakes off Edson Barbosa. Last loss was to David Onama. He got knocked out. David Onama's a dangerous guy. For this guy, YIZHA, let's see what we got here. 25-4, 27 years old. I don't know a lot about this guy. It's hard to find stuff on these guys that fight on the road to the UFC because they don't show a lot of it unless you watch it live. He's won his past few fights. He lost in his only UFC fight, 2023. This was his second shot on road to the UFC. So they're bringing him back. It seems like they do want him. Ultimately, I'm taking Gabriel Santos. He's definitely fought the better guys. He should have learned after the David Onama knockout that he has to clean his game up and can't be crazy with these brawling type fighters. But he doesn't have that here with YIZHA. The guy's record's padded 25-4 against all, I want to say the wrong word, but not the highest level opponents. Gabriel Santos is going to get the big win here for his first UFC win. Next we have Vanessa DEMOPOULOS versus Jacqueline AMORIM. Vanessa is 11-5. Plus 250 underdog against 8-1 Jacqueline AMORIM. Vanessa wins these kind of fights. She's always an underdog. She fights a lot too. Her last win was over Emily Ducote. Her last loss was to Caroline Kobulkache. And Jacqueline AMORIM's last win was over Corey McKenna. First round sub. Jacqueline AMORIM lost to, let's see, she lost unanimously. It was ugly. It was like 3 fights ago. Usually I would know a lot of this stuff right off the top of my head, but these fighters, it's a weak fight card. That's what it was. Yeah, Jacqueline lost to Sam Page Hughes a couple years ago unanimously. That was ugly. I think Vanessa's the same style fighter. Sam Hughes, actually even a little better. She's very gritty. She'll press you the whole time, take you down, beat you up on the floor. She has submissions. Her striking's not good on the feet, but she's gritty. She'll take shots to give you a couple. She won't stop, and I really like that against someone like Jacqueline. I don't think she does good in this fight at all. It's just gonna be like the Sam Hughes fight. She has a couple wins after then, but they're not against people who have wrestling and striking. Also submission threat. I like Vanessa here. Big underdog, plus 250. Average confidence. And I like going off the same style fighters because there's really no difference in Sam Hughes and DEMOPOULOS, except one of them is a little bit better with the finishing. I think that's definitely DEMOPOULOS. Here we go. This is a big lock right here. I think this is the best pick on the card, actually. Andre Petroski versus Dylan BUDKA. Andre Petroski, I'm not saying he's a great finisher because he didn't finish Josh Fremden his last fight. But that was someone that he trained with in the training room before, so they were familiar with each other before they fought. Andre is one of those Sean Brady, Joe Pyfer guys. They all know each other. I believe they have a lot of the same coaches. Andre's really good with the takedowns and his top pressure. His jiu-jitsu's on another level. He did lose to Michel Pereira. That was an ugly one, but a lot of guys would lose to him. He lost to Jacob Malkoon, where he went in for a takedown and knocked himself out, hit his head on the guy's hit. But he did bounce back big after that. Had the big one over Josh Frim. Clean decision, 30-27. Beat him up everywhere. And then for Budka, we have the UFC fight against Cesar Almeida, where he just went for a takedown the complete first round, completely gassed himself. As soon as the second round started, he went to do it again, and Cesar Almeida finished him. This is a clash of wrestlers / grapplers. I think Petrosky is going to be way bigger, way stronger, has so much more jiu-jitsu than this guy. There's no way Petrosky's going to be on his back. If the guy somehow gets a takedown, I think Petrosky's going to find a sweep. He's going to twist this guy over. He's going to be the guy on top. Hopefully he can get a finish in this fight. I'm going to say Andre Petrosky, second round submission. He didn't really go for it against Frem. I don't know if he was just worrying about gassing or Frem was really defending a lot of them well. Petrosky seems like he's good at the arm triangles. I mean, the guy's jacked. He's got to find something. He's got really big arms to find submissions. It does make it harder to get under the neck, but he can do a lot of other submissions with those arms. Whether it's Kimura's, kind of like Sean Brady's last win. But I really like Petrosky in this fight. I think he beats the crap out of him, and it's a great pick for whatever it is, minus 300. This is a little longer than I expected. And the last fight of the card, which is the first fight, ZYGIMANTAS versus Nathan Fletcher. In this fight, I am taking Nathan Fletcher out of the Paddy Pimblett gym. He's a very good grappler. He had like a staph infection a week ago. These guys were supposed to fight already. But I like Nathan Fletcher in this fight. Grappler versus striker. Jesus. Sorry about that. Striker versus grappler. And I think Nathan Fletcher gets the job done. 30-27 decision. Maybe hard fought, but the grappling's on a total different level. A lot of throws, really, not pure wrestling. Trips and stuff like that. Ziggy might hurt him a couple times when he gets up, but this fight's not going to be on the floor long. Or on the feet long. And that'll conclude this little fight night we got here. I can't believe we just went 23 minutes on that. It went by pretty quick. But I really like Sean Brady on this card. I really like Andre Petrosky, NATALIA SILVA. They're probably my three favorite picks. As underdogs, I really like Vanessa DEMOPOULOS as my favorite underdog. Then I would go Kyle Nelson. I still like some of the other fights on the card, but those are my favorite matchups. And let's see how we do. Let's get some good results again. We've done pretty good so far. Thanks for tuning in, and catch you next time.